Jennifer Lichter, welcome to the Single Track Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Well, this is our first time meeting, and I would love to get a little bit on your background because it looks like you've had an interesting life up until this point. Maybe we start with the fact that you ran at the University of Toledo. You focused in the 10K. I'm curious what that lifestyle was like. Did you enjoy the experience of being on a team and running at that level and being on the road in the track?
I have always been a very competitive person. I just didn't really figure that out until college. So I was actually a walk-on at Toledo for the first year. And I wanted to prove to myself and to basically the head coach there that I belonged. And so I just worked my butt off and ended up getting a full scholarship by the end of that year. Ended up being one of the fastest on the team in general as a freshman.
Wow.
And I debuted in my 10K there. That freshman year, I ran 34:34, almost made it to nationals. And I think there was only 3 freshmen at the prelims, and I was the only one to finish. And so I think my coach was like, okay, so this girl's legit. And so I'd say I always say track, cross country was my first love. And so I, even with my training now on trails, I still do road, and I still do track just because I gain a lot of confidence by doing that type of work. But the college experience was amazing. I mean, I had a really incredible first year. Sadly, I had some health issues later on that led to just decreasing performance. So I finished, I didn't really PR at all after that. But I did finish, the whole 4 years, and, I made some incredible friends, but I don't think it was anything special, but I mean, I learned a lot. You gotta have those lows before, hopefully you have those ups again. So I took some time after that and found trail running, and it honestly saved me. It saved my running, honestly. Yeah.
Well, what's interesting to me is, and I think you said this in a recent Instagram post, that you're in the process of unlocking the potential you always knew you had. And maybe you didn't fully realize it in college, but it's obviously on full display right now to anybody that's a fan of the sport. So can you talk about maybe that self-actualization process in your entrance onto the trail scene and why things are clicking here?
Yeah, well, so I think I just have a way healthier outlook on just training and competing in general. I was so how to describe this? I was just very strict when I was in college, and almost wanting to be such a perfectionist that basically what happened is I got sidetracked. And now I just feel like my approach to training is more about, me, about my personal happiness, and also kind of not letting results, competition really differ me as a person, as an athlete, whether I belong there or not. And so when I say I've slowly unlocking the potential, I've always known deep inside that it's something that I really cared about. And I think, racing in college and, finishing kind of heartbroken, honestly, because I knew that I hadn't shown the world, the college world, or at least the potential that or the ability that I knew I had as a competitive runner, and I think now I just being both, not only mentally healthy, but physically healthy, has made such a big difference. And just realizing the importance of fueling, for example, that's something that I neglected in college. And when I say I had health problems, I, in high school I went through a really severe eating disorder, and I thought I had knocked it off, but came college, I found myself going back to those patterns. And I just had a really incredible first year because I was healthy, and then I just got really I guess greedy basically,
Yeah.
and was asking a lot of my body more than, and like not giving it, the recovery, the fuel that it needed.
Yeah.
And so I was expecting more than I was actually giving.
Yeah.
And now, like, my main focus in training, in competing, in my life in general is health first, because, health equals happiness, happiness equals, like, doing the thing you love. And so, yeah, I think for me, it's like, I'm, like, my body's finally doing the thing that, like, I knew it could because it's healthy. So I think for me, it's like, I'm excited because I feel like I'm doing things right now. And
Yeah.
so I feel like what I've been, witnessing in myself when I compete, and how good I feel, and how just like stoked I am to race and train. I mean, in college, I felt like I was kind of like surviving. Versus, I would get to the starting line and I'm like, man, I have no idea what my body's going to be able to do today.
Yeah.
Because I just like, I didn't know what it had. And now when I go to a starting line, I'm so excited and I'm like, dude, let's do this. So yeah, like everything's changed. I'm not so, type A anymore. Which I think also has brought a lot of joy to it. Instead of it being something that I have to do, something that I get to do. And I'm just really grateful to like still be doing it, and like doing it healthy, and like getting results. So.
Well, I got to tell you, and I think a lot of listeners will agree, we really appreciate you using this platform to share your lessons just from the past, and then to use the platform to talk about what's working now and what's truly the formula for a sustainable athletic career. And then also, as it turns out, some of the best performances you've ever registered. And I'm sure there's still a lot more on the table. So we'll have to go long form at some point, because I think there's a lot more there to go in depth about. Just a few more background questions. I'm curious, you are based in Whitefish, Montana. And when I rack my brain for athletes from like Missoula and Bozeman, I can think of a lot, but I don't know that many in Whitefish. So talk about that area and like who you train with and why it's a great place to be a trail runner.
Yeah, so there's actually not that many runners in Montana. At least at that high level, there are runners, that run recreationally. But I mean, we have a really small little club here. We call it the Hell Roaring Run Club. And on a really good day, 5 people show up. And so most of those people are just my really closest friends. And I basically train with them on easy days, doubles, workouts I do by myself. But I don't know, Whitefish, we're really close to Glacier, and Glacier for the longest time was my playground, honestly, especially through COVID. I would just go out and just do long mountain days in Glacier, and I was totally okay that there was no there was no competition. I used it as a time for me to reflect on what like I really wanted out of this running thing. And yeah, so I don't know, it's beautiful. I mean, we have grizzlies, so we have to be really careful with that. So it kind of slows me down on trails, which is like probably very good. But yeah, no, it's such an incredible area. We have really great, especially for like the sky running that I've been doing, we have great, terrain and routes for that in general. So if you've ever been in Glacier, I think you would understand. People are
Yes.
like, these mountains are insane. So, I mean, yeah, it's really small, but I kind of like it because it feels more close and family-like. And I just know every single person that runs here, which is awesome. And there's such a fan club, man. They're amazing. So yeah.
Well, like I said, we'll have to go long from at some point, because I'd love to get into your background as a dual citizen, for example, and how you just recently secured a spot at the mountain running championships. And there's a question I think you mentioned about whether you would represent the U.S. or you'd represent Colombia. You know what? We should just talk about it. Like, how are you thinking about that situation right now?
I mean, currently, I would probably represent the U.S., honestly. Okay. That being mainly because I really haven't been back since that. So I was adopted when I was 9 years old,
Okay.
2005. And I feel like I've kind of lost touch with that side of me. I haven't gone back to visit or haven't been like, I don't know. I had a very interesting past. And so, yeah, I don't feel as connected to Colombia right now as maybe I should. And then also, competing for a company like the North Face, I just feel like, although, when you go to Worlds, you represent, I think you wear like Nike or something. I feel like I'm also representing the North Face and like this company that like believed in me. I still to this day cannot believe they like reached out to me after I ran one race. And I was like, are you sure? But they saw potential, and then I just like couldn't believe it, and I just ran away with it literally. And it's been so great so far, and I don't know, I just feel like this new almost like person. I haven't changed. I tell myself like don't change, just like use it as a source of like fuel and motivation. So yeah.
And I forgot to add context. You secured a spot on the championship team because you just set a course record at the Broken Arrow 52K Sky Race, which is incredible. We do got to get to Speedgoat, though. I'm curious, what draws you to this race, and how does it fit into the bigger picture of your priority goals for the rest of the calendar year?
So Speedgoat was actually a very last minute decision. It was not on my calendar at the beginning of the year. It wasn't even on my calendar when I went to Broken Arrow. My coach and I decided to do it actually the day after I ran Broken Arrow because there was a couple of my teammates who were going to go and do it. So Michelino, Sinceri, and Seth Ruling were going to go do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if Seth is going to go do it, and Erica. So I knew they were going to go, and I wasn't sure how I was going to react to about like basically 4 weeks of recovery in between, because Broken Arrow was my second 50K. I did the route last September, and I did Lake Sonoma this spring, but Broken Arrow was my second mountain race kind of ever, and I was still kind of being very cautious about how like I was going to recover after that. And but I felt so good at Broken Arrow, and I was really fit, and I didn't think I used my full fitness there. And so for me, it was like finishing and being really excited at the fact that like I felt good, like I could keep going. And so we decided to do it because I want to be able to hopefully go to Chamonix next year. So I said, I'm setting myself up for options.
Okay.
And Speedgoat, it's so funny. I don't really go for course records. I just kind of run as fast as I can.
Yeah.
And so for me, Broken Arrow was like, I had no idea that I was on course record. I had no idea that when I finished, they announced it, and I was like, what? That's crazy. But I mean, sometimes I think that's the best way to do it. It's just, you just like, don't worry about it. You run your hardest. And if it's a good day and you break it, that's amazing too. It's like a double whammy.
Yeah.
So for me, Speedgoat is, another basically confidence booster. I think for me, doing another 50K going into Worlds is going to make me feel really good. I'm doing the rut this year too. But yeah, so basically Speedgoat, people say if I like the rut and I liked Broken Arrow, I'm going to love Speedgoat.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just kind of setting myself up for like a good racing schedule, hopefully next year.
So 2 questions there. When you say Chamonix next year, do you mean OCC, CCC, UTMB? What are you looking at there?
Probably the 50K.
Okay, OCC.
I'm really bad with the title, so I don't know if it's CCC.
Yeah.
OCC.
OCC, yeah. No,
okay,
that makes
OCC.
sense. That makes
yeah.
sense. And then, so if I heard you right, you're not concerned at all about course records. If it happens, it happens, but you're going to just run to whatever your ability is that this day, and come what may, it's there, it isn't.
Yeah.
But okay, right on.
Yeah.
I've always wondered, like, as a fan of that race, whether sub 6 hours is possible. I think the current course record is somewhere around, I'd have to look it up.
I think it's
like
a 6:04. I did look at it.
Okay, so it's on your radar.
It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to go for it, but I am aware.
Okay, you're aware.
Yeah.
Right on. And how do you, from a training standpoint, given that you're coming off of a race, 3-4 weeks ago, is there anything you do specifically in the in-between to get ready? Or are you mostly recovering and, not overdoing it on like long runs and stuff?
Yeah, so basically the first 2 weeks after Broken Arrow, I really just focused on trying to get my legs to feel back to normal. Sure. The first week was so bad. I was tired. My legs were shot. But yeah, it's funny. I felt, morally, mentally great. My legs were like, we're tired. We had a long, build for this race. Cause I was having, talk about preparing for races. I was having, what do you call it? Dreams, but
yes.
Like
visualizations,
because I was so excited. I was like, dude, it's gonna be a deep field. I'm like so stoked to race. And so my body, I felt like I went through this high, and then like my body just crashed, and it was like, dude, we need to recover. So I'd say it was the majority of recovering and just trying to get back on track. I think this is like the first week that I'm actually have felt back to normal. So, I think it's been 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So, I still put in the work. But yeah, I think you can't really gain much fitness. You're just trying to maintain, honestly, like back to, your, stoked self, non-tired self, and then hopefully not get injured and then be ready to just do it again. So this is actually the fastest turnaround I've done for a trail. So we'll see how that goes.
You mentioned that you're a North Face athlete. What shoes are you wearing on race day?
So I am a big fan of the Infinites, the Vective Infinites. Cool. I don't know. They're just they're light and they're tready and they feel good. So those are they've been my go-to this entire season for racing. They're my favorites right now.
Last question I have for you. If we are taking a long-term look at your career, and by long-term, I mean like 1, 2, 3 years, are you investing pretty specifically in the sky racing scene in the 50K distance, or do you have interest in exploring other disciplines in the sport, longer races, stuff like that?
For sure, longer stuff. So right now I just feel I'm starting to finally nail down this 50K, but I actually talk about doing a 50 miler next year, potentially 100K by the fall, maybe. But long future term, it'd be awesome to do something like 100 miles, the ultra stuff. I tend to, describe myself as more of a grit runner.
Yeah.
And so for me, longer is better. And I think for me, the big key is I just have to slow down and realize that like pacing is like a legit thing when it comes to those long, I don't know, multi-day maybe, or 48-hour kind of racing. So I think that's new for me coming from, especially track and road. Like trail running was so fun. Like just like try to figure out you can't run everything. You have to hike this if you're going to like try to be okay by the end of it. So.
Well, Jennifer, it has been a pleasure to get to know you. We are excited to follow your race this coming weekend. I'll make sure to link to all of your social media in the show notes so folks can get to know you further and follow you. Is there anything else you want to leave the audience with before we go?
Oh, man. Well, just like thanks for the support. I think trail running and how it's taken off, it's all about you guys. You could be the best runner out there, and if there's no one cheering behind you, it's just not fun. So you guys make it happen. So thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, great to meet, and we'll see you out on the course.
Thank you. All right, bye.